Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we've got ourselves a new artwork rare, a new illustration rare. We've got ourselves a new Aegislash, a Pokemon which is very commonly mispronounced, one of the ones which I don't mispronounce, although I know it sounds a little bit weird. But it is Aegislash. I checked. Yay! So, before we get to the Aegislash and what it actually does, and it is a potentially very good card despite being a stage 2, let's have a look at the artwork. Because this is an artist who has never actually gone and illustrated a Pokemon card before. Kind of. You see, what we've got in terms of an illustrator here, and I'm not lying to you, this is the first card we've ever had officially released that has been illustrated by Takumi Wada. However, these three might look familiar, because these are the cards that Wada illustrated for the online exhibition that happened a couple of years ago. No, it was last year, it was 2022. So, we've seen cards from Wada before, and they were released last year for the online illustration museum thing, and it was great. And these are stunning cards, but they were never actually released. They weren't real Pokemon cards. Like, they were real Pokemon cards in a sense of they are Pokemon cards and they were commissioned by the Pokemon Company, but they were never actually released. You cannot go and buy these cards. Now, Takumi Wada, as I told you at the time, basically what we're talking about here is the artist who's famous for the work they did for Breath of the Wild. And just stunning artist. Absolutely adore what they've done here. So, yeah, the idea that we've now got a real Pokemon card done by Wada, which is actually going to be released and in our hands, is brilliant. When we had these Wada cards before, I was a huge fan of them. I told you as much at the time. I did hear some people suggesting that the art style might not suit a Pokemon card. Essentially, the argument was, look, this is a very cool style and it works brilliantly for Zelda, but maybe it's just not really the kind of style we're going to see on real Pokemon cards. And to be fair, it was like a year ago that we saw these cards from Wada, and for the past year, it's been very quiet. But now we've got an actual Wada card, which we're actually getting. And might I say, ladies and gentlemen, this seems to fit very nicely indeed. This seems very nice, and I can't tell you whether this will be the only card we ever see from them. I can't tell you if we do see more cards, how regular they're going to be, or any of that. But I absolutely can tell you I want more cards by this artist, because goodness me, this card is absolutely stunning. Good. So here are the two different artworks then, side by side, but what does the card actually do? Well, it's got Safeguard. And that's very good. This Pokemon takes no damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. I've not actually seen a translation of this one yet, so I'm flying a little bit blind, but I honestly feel very good about this translation, because look, it's Mimikyu. We saw Mimikyu previously. We've got a Mimikyu with this ability. Now, it is absolutely fair to say, well, hang on a second, Wassy. If we've got a Mimikyu with this ability that came around in Paldea Evolved, and that's a basic Pokemon, why? Why would we want a Stage 2 that does this? What's the point in having this blocking ability on a Stage 2 when we've already got this ability on a basic that can be sitting out there from the very first turn of the game? Fair question. And there are basically two at least initial points here. And to be fair, if you have a look at the Mimikyu on the screen here, it's not got exactly the same name, but you can see there's a Shimpi at the front for both of them, so similar kind of name-ish. Anyway, it's the same ability, right? Look at the cards side by side. Even if you don't know any Japanese, you can see that the wording on here is exactly the same. Takes no damage from your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. Remember that it is specifically EX and V, so if new types of Pokemon come out in the future, they will not be blocked. But also remember that V does include V-Star and V-Max. Good. So what are the reasons we're playing this when Mimikyu exists? Two reasons, initially. First of all, HP. there will be some stuff that can hit through this ability, and you've got 150 HP against 70. Pretty much anything that can get through this ability will one-hit KO Mimikyu. It's really not that hard. There is a decent chance that if your opponent is hitting through this ability into Aegislash, obviously they're not using an EX or a V, so what they've basically got to do here is they've got to have something that can not only get through, but do 150. And that is very, very different from doing 70. So, initially here, yeah, it is absolutely worth pointing out that you've got enough HP here that when your opponent inevitably brings up a single prize Pokemon to try and stop you, they are going to struggle to get through, whereas with Mimikyu, they're not. 70 HP is really not a lot. But also, we got the attack here. Mimikyu's attack sucks. It's a basic Pokemon with Safeguard. It can't have a good attack. 2 energy, 7 damage counters on your opponent's active. It's not out-and-out trash garbage, but it's 2 energy and it's not a lot of damage. But again, you can't have a Safeguard Pokemon with a really good attack that is a basic. That would be too good. Game design would tell us that's a bad idea. Now, what we've got from Aegislash here is 120 for 2 energy, and it goes through any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. As a side note, if you want a reference for the Japanese language being the same on a card, here's Bellibolt. There you go. Bellibolt does the same thing here. And the irony is, of course, that this is the kind of attack you're going to need to get through Aegislash. Now, obviously not with Aegislash, because Aegislash is a single prize Pokemon. It's not an EX, it's not a V. You're not going to need this to go through. That's not the point, ladies and gentlemen. The point is, it's still a very, very useful ability, because there are going to be times where this is going to work beautifully. Where your opponent is trying to block you with something, or they're trying to give themselves immunity, or something along those lines, and you're just like, lol, no, and you just hit straight through. And that's going to be brilliant, that's going to work, it's going to be lovely, and we're all going to be happy. That's the kind of thing we're talking about here. It's a useful attack. But we need to actually stick on this attack for a moment, because we do need to kind of ask the question here, how relevant is this ability, bearing in mind that the whole point is the ability? You're not playing Aegislash for the attack. It's fine, but if you're playing it for the ability. How often is this going to work? Or to put it another way, what have we got that can go through this? So what we do is we go to PKMN cards, and we search for Pokemon that have the text any effect in, that are Vs or EXs, and in terms of relevant Pokemon that actually see a decent amount of play, there are a couple. But it kind of is a couple. Obviously, Mew V Max. Now, we don't tend to see Max Miracle being used very much, but it is fair to point out the Mew V Max's Max Miracle, if you're not just going double turbo energy, will go through. Having said that, it will only hit 130, which is not actually enough to get a KO, which is kind of my point about the extra HP. We've got Giratina V's Shred, which will actually do 160 and go through, which is kind of annoying. And then we got Duraludon VMAX's G-Max Pulverization that does 220, and yes, that is enough. So it's only actually Mew, in terms of the Shred style attacks, that will fail to get a KO. But again, in terms of the damage, most decks are going to turn around and go, right, well, I can't get a KO with my Pokemon EX or Pokemon V. So what that means is I need to use a single prize Pokemon, but now I've got to try and do enough damage to actually get a KO, which is not going to be necessarily a particularly easy thing to do. And this has a chance. Now, it's absolutely fair for you to sit there and suggest, well, hang on a second, Wassy, what about Mimikyu? I know the attack is worse, and I know it's got significantly less HP, but come on, Wassy, it's still the same ability, and it's on a basic, which means it's going to get rolling faster. It's hard to argue with that, frankly. It is hard to argue with that, because at the end of the day, yeah, it is a basic, which means it is going to be rolling much more quickly and much more easily, and I get that. But the extra HP, the better attack, And frankly, if we get to a situation where none of these Pokemon are seeing play that can hit through this kind of ability, this could be a very cheeky deck to bring out and just be like, hey, no, you can't win. Like, you get one or two of these out and your opponent's like, I literally can't take any prizes, you win. Not saying it's going to work all the time. I'm saying that there is a little bit of potential here. I'm giving this an extremely tentative 4 Wassies, which already sounds too high, but I've said it now, so ha. And like I say, do not sleep on the fact that Takumi Iwata has finally done an actual proper official Pokemon card which is being released, because this art is stunning, and if we've seen one, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's extremely fair to suggest we might see more in the future, and that'll be awesome. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this card. Tell me what you think about this artist. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join the Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Matt DS, who's been a support of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.